Today, King Philippe and Queen Mathilde of Belgium visited victims of the Brussels attacks at the city's Erasmus Hospital. Scores of people have been injured, many of whom suffered severe burns from the bombings. I spoke to the nation's health minister, Maggie De Block, as she shuttled between hospitals and a cabinet meeting with the Prime Minister. I asked her about the ongoing operation to care for the injured and, of course, whatever she knew about the latest on the investigation. Can you tell me definitively the absolute latest numbers of dead and wounded?
Well, we have about 260 injured people due to the two attacks, and we have now 31 dead people, but the number of dead people is still possibly changing because there are very severe injuries, and these people are still in critical conditions, so we don't know if they will survive or not.
Can you describe some of the most severe injuries and about how many are the most critically injured?
Our patients are now in 25 different hospitals because they have such severe injuries, and surgeons tell me that they are like war injuries. Lots of burns, heavily burned people, but also scratched due to the bombs, the explosives, and several amputations were needed, and really bad injuries.
Were the worst injuries from the metro blasts or from the airport attack?
From both. In the airport, the ceiling had come down, so that caused lots of injuries. And in the metro, there was a heat, so they are heavily burned.
Do you have all that is necessary, whether it be blood, whether it be skin grafts, whether it be any kind of medicine or doctors even, enough nurses and facilities to take care of all these people all at once?
Yes, we do. We have very much doctors in our hospitals. There is also a lot of expertise in specialized treatments for burns. We have military hospital in Belgium also, which specialty is heavily burned people, so there is enough expertise in our country.
So some of the wounded, Minister De Block, are at military hospitals as well, is that correct?
At first, 55 people were sent to the military hospital yesterday, but now some have been relocated because they have had first treatment, and now they want to be closer to their families. Others have been sent to the military hospital because the burns injuries were too heavily to treat in other hospitals.
It is obviously a horrendous situation for you. As a cabinet minister, you are obviously taking part in the emergency sessions with your colleagues and with the Prime Minister. What is the latest you can tell me on the investigation?
Well, the investigation is now going on, and the conditions, the explosions on several places, make it not easy for the teams to gather all the information. But for me, as I'm concerned for the patients. And then I'm glad that we have such a huge capacity in our hospitals, our medical teams who have done really medical miracles. All the patients I've been talking to, they say it was very fast and effective. So that is also why we prepared this mesh emergency plan. After the attack in Paris, I asked the hospitals to have another view at their mesh plans, and they organized major catastrophe exercises, which I hoped we would never have had to use them. But I called it a worst case scenario, but unfortunately yesterday we needed those plans.
Well, it's obviously very interesting to hear you say that you put those into effect right after the catastrophic Paris attacks. Given the number of Belgian citizens who've gone to fight with ISIS, given the hotbed, I'm sorry to say, that exists in your capital there, weren't you really preparing? Didn't you expect this to happen, in other words?
Well, we certainly were prepared, but we hoped it would never have happened. But after Paris, we know that Paris is much less than 2 hours from Brussels. So we know if it can happen in Paris, it can happen in Brussels. So we took all the necessary measurements measures to avoid it. But unfortunately, it has struck at 2 places and on 1 day.
How could these people have been able to continue plotting right in the heart of your community? Who is at fault, Minister? Is it citizens who are not reporting suspicious activity? Is it, you know, I don't want to say chaos, but sort of apparently intelligence links that are not shared, too many different types of intelligence and police that are not sharing information? What is it at the heart of this that needs to be fixed so that these people can be discovered earlier?
I am, for the moment, taking care of the patients, and I think that is what I have to do. The questions you ask and other questions will be answered in the coming days or weeks. You have a lot of questions, so do I, but I'm not the one who is going to answer them today.
My principal question to you is this not a war that has been declared, and you may find this happening more often, sadly. We all in different European capitals may find this is the new normal that we have to accept for the foreseeable future. As a cabinet minister, do you feel confident that your officials, your police, intelligence, and all the other officials get what we're all living with now?
Well, I think we say to the citizens that we take all measures, so we should give the good example. Citizens are today in Brussels are already getting on the train. We will reinstall our social lives, and we are confident that we will take the necessary measures to avoid this in the future. So why wouldn't I be one of those people to have confidence?